The most dangerous thing in business is the illusion of certainty. Strategy isn't cheap. It costs time, energy, trust, alignment. It pulls leaders into long meetings, tough conversations, and difficult decisions. But we confuse that effort with the finish line. We spend weeks, sometimes months, crafting a bold plan and building decks. We host offsites. We make big declarations, but then nothing changes because strategy doesn't fail in the design. It fails in the execution, in the decisions made under pressure, in the compromises that no one tracks. Let me walk you through the 4 biggest risks I see in strategic execution, risks that most leaders overlook until it's too late. More importantly, I'll show you what great looks like when those risks are eliminated. Let's start here. New strategy, old mindsets. That's the first risk. It's not that the strategy is wrong. It's that people interpret it through old behavior. They default to what they know. Same metrics, same meetings, same unspoken rules. Why? Because leaders don't define the shift well enough. They toss around buzzwords like innovation and customer obsession, but never clarify what those actually mean in practice. And when that happens, people will fill in the blanks themselves. What's changing? What's staying the same? Are we optimizing or transforming? What's the scope of disruption we're driving? If you don't answer those questions loudly and clearly, you'll never get the change you want because people will keep executing the past and not even realize that they are sacrificing the future. Let's look at Salesforce. Salesforce didn't scale to $30 billion by winging it. They used a framework called V2MOM, vision, values, methods, obstacles, measures. It created ruthless clarity. Everyone from execs to interns knew what mattered and how their work aligned. The definition of from what to what was crystal clear. They also pioneered customer success as a business function, not a marketing slogan. Customer success became a core engine of retention, growth, and accountability. This generated a mindset that kept the entire organization aligned to delivering the entire strategy from end to end. Execution wasn't a handoff. It was baked into how the company operated. That's what execution looks like when there's no room for interpretation. Here's the second risk: launching strategy without staging it first. Let's say the vision is clear and everyone's excited, but then the wheels fall off fast. Why did that happen? Well, because no one accounted for dependencies before they launched. They didn't have enough people, enough time, enough energy, or the resources to make it sustainable. Worse, no one taught leaders how to work differently. As a result, mid-level and frontline leaders start improvising as they go. They start using what they do have on the wrong efforts, which usually descends into turf wars, waste, and dysfunctional decision-making. And what started as a bold new chapter becomes chaos. That's not their fault. It's the system's fault. You can't expect execution to just figure itself out after you launch it. That's not strategic thinking at all. We must figure out the dependencies before we launch and then set them up, stage them, so that our teams don't have to stop and scramble to look for what they need when they're supposed to focus on generating momentum. Look at Amazon. When Amazon launched Prime, it wasn't just a big vision. They staged the execution before anyone saw the offer. They expanded fulfillment centers, modeled shipping costs, forecasted demand, prepped customer service, aligned every function around long-term loyalty, not short-term profit. In other words, they didn't announce Prime and then scramble. They engineered it into existence before it actually launched. That's why Prime worked. They built the bones first, then launched. Because when strategy is built for execution, it doesn't collapse under pressure. Okay, risk number 3, treating strategy like it's done. Too many leaders think the hard part ends when the strategy is announced. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of effort required to craft a strategy, communicate it, maybe even get a genuine buzz going on in the head office. But execution is where it actually starts. And without ongoing leadership, it unravels quietly. And again, I get it. Leaders are exhausted by the time the strategy is, quote, done. They think they finished the work, but strategy isn't a plan. It's the decisions that have to be made as the strategy moves through the execution phase. Strategy is not a one-time event. And if you're not walking the floor, checking for alignment, listening to the front lines, your strategy dies on the vine. Look at Microsoft. When Satya Nadella stepped in, the strategy didn't change overnight. What changed was how deeply leadership engaged in execution. Satya made culture the delivery system. He didn't announce a vision and vanish. He showed up again and again. Satya flattened silos that blocked alignment. He shifted incentives to reward collaboration. He focused teams on customer outcomes, not just feature delivery. And most importantly, he didn't move on once the strategy was launched. Week after week, quarter after quarter, he observed, inspected, questioned, and adjusted until the strategy became muscle memory across the organization. And the culture of a giant like Microsoft actually changed as a result. That's leadership, which brings us to the trickiest risk of them all. Sometimes the biggest execution risk is us, not the market, not the team, not the strategy, us, the leaders. We get addicted to success. We crave significance. We demand control. But our leadership mindset can sabotage execution. It's what I call the ego fear loop. And many leaders don't even know the cycle they're trapped in. The addiction to success creates the fear of failure. The addiction to significance creates the fear of rejection. And the addiction to control creates the fear of risk. When leaders make decisions to A, feed their addictions and or B, comfort their fears, they wind up injecting toxicity into every layer of decision-making across the entire organization. This is the ego fear loop in action. Clarity collapses, empowerment fades, accountability gets replaced with blame. But when we lead from a healthier place, when we ground ourselves in confidence, acceptance, and trust, not fear, execution becomes resilient. Look at Alan Mulally at Ford. When Alan took over at Ford, they were bleeding cash. Entire divisions were fragmented. There was zero alignment. So to conquer the situation, he created a bold strategy, One Ford, a unifying vision to focus the entire company on a shared future. But that strategy didn't succeed because it sounded good. It succeeded because Mulally led differently. He created weekly business plan review meetings where truth was expected, not punished. He praised leaders for admitting problems instead of hiding them. He modeled calm, focused decision-making under intense pressure, and he turned accountability into shared responsibility, not blame. Alan didn't let fear drive him. He created a space where leaders could be honest, aligned, and effective. One of the biggest business turnarounds in history happened because the ego fear loop was broken at the top. And once that happened, the strategy had a real shot. In closing, let's be real. Strategy is hard and execution is harder. But failure isn't inevitable. You can beat these 4 risks. Define the shift so no one's guessing. Build before you launch. Become even more engaged after the strategy is announced, and stay out of the ego fear loop, because strategy doesn't fail at the design. It fails in the execution. So lead like it's a ripple effect. The splashes you make today shape what comes next. If this hits home, I've got something more for you. You can check out a free preview of my masterclass on strategic execution. It'll show you how to cut through the noise, get to the real reasons execution breaks down, and ultimately, what to do about it. I'll walk you through a clear, proven framework that actually works. These are genuine best practices and strategies that will stop the grind and get your team thriving. Find the link in the notes section and take a moment now to invest in yourself. Holo mua. Onward and upward.